What's going on, everybody? It's FREEDO here for Your Overwatch. How are you liking the Mercy changes? I've been asking on Twitter, getting a varied response, but I think, generally speaking, most Mercy players are enjoying the Mercy gameplay. But as this does change a whole lot of things, we wanted to have a quick meta discussion about what is getting better and what is getting worse in the game with this new and improved Mercy. Now, I say improved, but sections of her kit obviously are a bit weaker at certain things, but stronger at other things. So what is that exactly? Well, her mid-fight capability got a massive buff. Quite debatable if this is overpowered or not. To be honest, I think the 30-second res cooldown is just as immensely powerful as the other supportive kit in the game. Discord Orb, Speed Boost, Anti-Nade, all of those have faster cooldowns. So with res on a 30-second cooldown, it actually feels quite comparable in strength overall, but it also does put more power into the supportive elements of the game, which is good for some types of players and bad for other types of players. What is it really bad for? Well, there's a whole section of play and strategy built around pickoffs, where you don't really engage until you wait for a key pickoff, utilizing a hero like Widowmaker, Hanzo, Roadhog, Doomfist, some organization of that type of play, and utilizing their skill set to try to find an opening. Well, Mercy having res negates those opportunities and makes that playstyle in general weaker. Okay, so what about dive comp though? Dive comp's been really good. Just go killer, dive the Mercy. That should be able to do things, right? Well, the metagame of how Mercy plays against mobility classes, and especially dive comp, makes it kind of fair in my opinion, and that's not really what you want when you want to develop a counter strategy. I think it's a bit of a skill battle in that if the Mercy is able to dodge away, which she oftentimes did anyway in matchmaking games especially, staying alive for quite long, if your movement on Mercy is really good, the weakness of dive comp starts to really show. And in general, what is dive comp? Well, it either is Tracer, Genji, dive tanks, Lucio Zen, something like that. Sometimes a Pharah or Pharmacy mixed in there as well. But overall, that's actually kind of a low damage and low ult fight comp. It's all based on its ability to have mobility to get to a fight that it wants. But the thing is, Mercy's got the best escape mobility in the game, as long as she has the targets on her team to fly away from. So normally, dive comp would be able to not get a pick off like the other comp that I talked about, but be able to overwhelm and focus fire something so fast that it bursts it down, and then they have the mobility to just clean up. They pretty much press W and mouse 1 and they destroy everything in front of them. Now, it's more complicated than that, obviously, but generally speaking, that was really strong too. But the problem is, the reason why I say it's a bit of a skill battle is that if the dive comp flies in and loses members to try to trade out targets, it used to be the case that the mobility characters, especially the DPS, could carry out the late fight. After the trades happen, the Genji or Tracer would just be sort of untouchable if there wasn't a strong counter present, and they'd be able to clean out the fights. Take out the trash, so to speak. The problem is, if the kill you get isn't Mercy, and you lose anybody on the exchange, and then she gets res, and she gets away, you're almost like doomed to fail all the time. So, I've described two types of comps that are really weak against Mercy. What's the type that I think is better? Well, anything that has big ult fight potential. Because obviously, Mercy used to be the ultimate fight equalizer. If you try to spam multiple ultimates to get a nice clean team wipe, well, I'm sorry, Harry Potter, you didn't catch the golden snitch. As it turns out, it was the only part of the game that mattered. Mercy flies back in and undoes all of your ultimate stack, not to mention creating one of the greatest ultimate swing economy plays in the entire game. Personally, I didn't dislike this type of play, but I also play at Masters and GM, where the mechanical skill set of players is a bit higher, so being able to track down a Mercy or to get kills normally happens quite quickly, actually. The higher skill tiers up you go, the faster the time to kill gets, and things just get destroyed. Like Tracers are one-clipping, Widows are hitting headshots, targets are just dying really fast. And it works the opposite on your way down the skill ranking ladder, where the lower you are, the more likely the fights extend out very long. And the best way to get a concise team wipe is actually through the strategy components of like a tank ult, combine some things together. And I think that's where the majority of complaints about Mercy came from, though of course there was complaints at all skill ratings, so it isn't just this argument, but it also is as well. So now, the new Mercy, although is stronger as we've described before for her multiple tempo res ability, out of all of the defensive ultimates, I think she objectively has the worst one in terms of responding in the ult fight. She's insane in the like pharmacy dive combo where one of your DPSs is Pharah and you're playing dive tanks and you're that aggressive team now. Because in that scenario where I was describing where you're spending resources to get a kill and Mercy could res, well, if they don't have a defensive Mercy and you have an attack Mercy and your Pharah or your Winston goes down, but you kill something, well, instant tempo res, instant value, and either you use the res cooldown or Valkyrie to be very aggressive. Mercy in general really fits strong in that pharmacy dive comp combo, team comp, where you want to just keep fighting and brawling and hitting W and mouse 1. That comp she looks sick in. Doesn't look as good against a slow, methodical comp that's going to trap you in a Graviton and put a Hanzo ult through it. She does really nothing to stop that, because if multiple of her teammates go down, she can't just res them all up. She can res quite a few of them when they're getting like picked off left and right, but not really good against the big ult fight anymore. Instead, Transcendence and Sound Barrier look a lot better in comparison. And this is something you're going to want to think about, because if you're running, let's say, like Ana and Mercy as your support combo, especially on defense, you'll have to engage offensively, because Valkyrie is closer to Nano Boost in terms of like it increases your team's offensive potential with a little bit of supportiveness in there mixed in, right? You can res, you can heal, but generally it's an aggressive type of play. So you'll have to be finding engagements rather than responding to them like you did with old Mercy. Overall though, all things considered, I think a lot of Mercy players are happy to hear that, because now it's the opposite of the case where you want to be hiding all the time so you don't die in the ult fight. Now you have to be looking for opportunities to make these aggressive plays, because if the enemy engage into you and they dictate the pace of the engagement, you're very likely going to fall victim to too many ultimates and not really have a response, and you just lose the fight outright. How do you go about dealing with this new Mercy? Well, a few things and a few characters that I think are more key than you might think. Although I did say that Widowmaker looks weaker because her pickoffs can get rezzed, at the same time though, it is one of the easier ways to get res on cooldown, and when Mercy's in her ultimate form, Widow has a very clean line of sight to be able to take her out. A side note that I didn't mention yet, that Mercy in Valkyrie form, although does have a bit of tankiness because she heals herself constantly, she moves very slow now in comparison to what she used to, and I find it's pretty easy to chase her down with a lot of characters, the new D.Va especially, in or out of Valkyrie form. And because she's going up in the sky like that in order to float around, Widowmaker play is a bit underrated against her, but it does take a really excellent Widow play to be able to keep up with the amount of rezzing that she does. And you may just ultimately decide that a more powerful ultimate from a character like McCree makes him a lot better, because anytime any character wants to jump up in the air now, McCree's High Noon is insane at taking out Pharmacy or a Valkyrie Mercy. She pops up in the air. The lock-on time of McCree's High Noon is just so good now. It's going to be a sick ultimate in order to set up these types of engagements that I'm talking about. Put a zoning D.Va ult with a High Noon on the other side, or a Graviton. Remember, it's very key to note, but it used to be the case that Mercy was invulnerable when rezzing, but now that is no longer the case. So that means while she's flying in to try to touch a teammate's corpse to res it, she is very vulnerable. So those range sight lines of either Soldier ult, McCree ult, Widow sight line, hit scans in general, D.Va especially is an assassin tank nowadays. Very good at taking out Mercy in my opinion. Those are the type of out-positioning plays that you're going to have to make in order to defeat the new Mercy. Other than that, in general, the tank ults just look a little bit better, namely Self-Destruct, Earth Shatter, and Graviton Surge. Landing those effectively are going to be your most clear path to victory, because this new Mercy is very inefficient at handling big bursts of deaths. So all in all, what you need to really be improving with Mercy nowadays is your movement. Well, I'm sure there's going to be a lot more to talk about with Mercy and especially D.Va. We'll be covering it over the course of the week. I'm really excited to see how the pros play on this patch. I'm not sure actually when they do, but I think it's really going to shake up the top level of play as well, just as it did the entirety of matchmaking. Let me know your thoughts on any of the things that I mentioned here today in the comment section down below. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like. It really does help us out and lets us know that you're enjoying the content. If you haven't already, please subscribe because we upload each and every day, so you're going to want to hit the bell icon so that you get notified when our videos go live. Linked in the description, you can check out our Twitter, where we tweet out news, updates, and dank memes. And as well, there'll be a few more days left of the Overwatch Razor Death Adder Elite giveaway. Go ahead and click the link in the description. Thanks everybody for watching. That's been it for me. I've been FREEDO for Your Overwatch. I'll see you guys next time.